Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today I am going to be doing my first ever Top 5 Wednesday video. Top 5 Wednesdays is a Goodreads group where they pick a different topic every Wednesday and you have to put on your blog or your Booktube your top 5 of that topic. This week's topic is your top 5 books before you joined whatever your platform is, whether it be Bookstagram or blogging or Booktube. And I thought this was a really interesting question, and that's why I've just started doing the top 5 Wednesdays. I'm not sure whether I will continue on doing them, but I hope so. I think they're really fun, nice little easy midweek videos to do, so I might do a couple more, but I certainly won't be doing them all from now in. This question really got me thinking about how Booktube had affected my reading, and I think it has to a certain extent. And definitely in the last year since joining Booktube in February, I've read a couple of books that would have made this list by now. I'm going to mention firstly the books that would be on this list if it wasn't before Booktube, if it was just the top 5 books of all time. One of those which I've read since joining Booktube, and primarily because of Booktube, is The Circle by Dave Eggers. This is sort of a modern version of 1984, which would also be pretty high up the list, by George Orwell. This follows a girl who works in The Circle, which is sort of a computer company, the likes of Google or Apple, and they're basically slowly becoming integrated into everyone's daily lives, and it's that sort of big brother. They're watching, they're monitoring everything. What are they doing with this data? Do we have privacy anymore? And where our phones know our location, that sort of idea. I found this a really gripping read. I liked how the similarities between it and 1984 played out, not only in the storyline but actually how it is written. And it was scary to see that this was written in 2013, and already some of the stuff that is talked about in this as coming along, which scared the people, have already arrived. And yeah, if you sort of think about those sorts of things, this would be one to pick up. I really recommend this. Another one I don't have a copy with right now would be Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This is a dystopian novel where books are outlawed, and our main character is a fireman. But in this new world, firemen's job is to set fires. So when people are found doing illegal things, which is mostly anything to do with literature, their houses burn down to destroy all the books. And it is A, beautifully written, and B, an absolutely heartbreaking tale. And it really shows us the importance of literature and books in our culture as well as in our personal lives. And that's really, really beautiful. But now on to the top 5 Wednesdays. I've picked these out. I think sometimes I'm wishy-washy. Obviously your favourites change and come and go, but I'm pretty sure this is my top 5, but I cannot put them into a certain order, so they're not like least favourite to most favourite or vice versa. These are just the top 5 in a completely random order. The first for me is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, but not the novelisation. This is the graphic novel version, which is absolutely beautiful. The artwork in it. This has a really important part in my reading life. I remember mostly my dad would have told me a lot of stories, but they wouldn't have necessarily read to me a lot, not to my memory. I'm sure they did read bedtime stories, but this, I can remember my dad reading this to me and being so completely enthralled, and it was the first sort of memory I have of having to know what comes next. And I used to sneak out of bed, and I wasn't old enough to obviously read for a graphic novel. It's quite text dense, but I was looking at the pictures trying to work out what was happening next, and then the following night trying to not let on that I had looked at it. And I would say this has a really special place in my heart because of that, and that's why it makes my top 5 list. Plus it's an awesome story. It's The Hobbit. Next we have Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. anyone of my sort of age would remember the cartoon that was in the 80s. I'm very into animation myself, particularly Disney. But Don Bluth is one of my favourite animators, and he had a high stake in The Secrets of Nim, which was the 80s cartoon adaptation of this book. If you like that movie, you will love this book. It's very similar. The parts of it that are the same are almost word for word, but there's parts in the movie that aren't. Excuse me. There's parts in the movies that aren't in the book and vice versa, but the parts that are both the same are done very accurately to the book. You get a lot more backstory in the book about the rats and Nim and what happened between Nim and coming to Mr. Fitzgibbon's farm. That's a hard one to say fast. But yeah, I've reread this book recently and I absolutely adore it. And there's actually 2 more books to the series, which not a lot of people know about. There's Roscoe and the Rats of Nim, and then there's R.T. Margaret and the Rats of Nim, and they were actually not written by Robert C. O'Brien, the original author, but by his daughter. So they're not under the same author name, so many people don't know they exist. But they're both good. But I love O'Brien's writing in this. It's, as well as a good story, it's written so well. I love all the characters. I just love everything about it. The next book is The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. This is also an 80s cartoon, if you've ever seen it, which is incredibly good. This also has a lot to play in my life. The cat in this is called Turnip, and my cat is called Turnip, named after this. I loved the movie as a kid and I love the book. And look at this gorgeous edition I got in a charity shop for 50p. And it's all illustrated on the inside. Like, look at that creature. Like, what is that? I have no idea, but it's so cute. This follows Princess Irene, who is kept in the castle and isn't told that goblins exist in her kingdom. And then one night she goes outside and she meets a boy called Kirby, who is a miner's son. And the whole thing just unfolds. They find out about the goblins, and the goblins are like humans who lived like humans and with humans, but the humans overthrew them and forced them to live underground, and now they want to come up and overthrow the humans and force them to live underground. And Kirby overhears the conversation that the Goblin King has, and then tries to tell the Human King about it, and he's not believed and stuff. It's just a gorgeous fairy tale, and not many people know that George MacDonald was a big influence not only to C.S. Lewis but also to J.R.R. Tolkien. And both of those men personally said that he had a big impact on their writing style. And yeah, so if you're looking for the OG, George MacDonald is the place to go. My last two are both classics, and I would say between the two of these are the books that I have read the most time in my life. The first is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I can't get enough. I love it. I read this book all the time. I think it is hilarious. The wit and humour in this book is so good, especially Mr. Bennet, Elizabeth's father. He is saucy as hell. His little snide comments to everyone, he doesn't care, and it's just great. I love him. I hate romance, but the romance in this I actually think is really good. And yeah, I just love everything. The writing style, just everything about it. And if you're looking for a TV adaptation, the BBC one that came out in the early 90s is by far the best. It's so good. It's well worth going and checking that out if you're interested. And last but not least, Sherlock Holmes. This is my full, really battered up, because I've read it that many times, bind up of all the Sherlock Holmes novels. This comes in at a whopping 1,500 and something pages when they're all together. But my favourite is The Hound of the Baskervilles. And I said they weren't in any particular order, but I think this is probably my favourite book of all time. I love the story. I love the characters. I love how it plays out. I have the audiobook of this, and I would say I listened to it while falling asleep probably 6 out of 10 nights. I I like having an audiobook on when I fall asleep, but I don't like listening to audiobooks that I haven't read before because then I miss stuff. So it's normally between Pride and Prejudice and Hound of the Baskervilles that I go between, but it's nearly always Hound of the Baskervilles, and I just put it on at random points and listen to it to half an hour before bed. I could probably recite you this story word for word, cover to cover. It is by far my Sherlock Holmes favourite mystery, and I just love it. So that is my top 5 Wednesday video, the first one I've ever done, telling you what my favourite 5 books were before I joined Booktube, and it hasn't really changed that much, and I'm not sure whether that's a good or a bad thing, but that's the way it is. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more top 5 Wednesdays, let me know. I'll link the Goodreads link to the group down below if you want to join it or check it out, and yeah, that's us. I hope you're all happy, I hope you're all healthy, and I hope to see you in my next video. Goodbye!